I stare at my phone, my thumb trembling just above the play button. The video, sent from a stranger on WhatsApp, had been sitting on my screen for 20 minutes. I couldn't bring myself to watch it. What's wrong? Is the steak not to your liking? Olivia Vance set down her knife and fork. She was wearing my favorite cherry red lipstick, impossibly alluring under the warm, yellow light of the restaurant. It's nothing. Just work stuff. I forced a smile and placed my phone face down on the table. Probably just some spam video. Olivia tilted her head, a single curl falling across her delicate collarbone. She reached out and covered my hand with hers. Her fingertips were cool. Our engagement party is in 3 days. Don't overwork yourself. My dad said he's bringing you into the corporate headquarters after the party. You'll start as a vice president. I nodded, my throat tight. Olivia didn't know that the stranger had sent me 3 contact requests already. I'd ignored the first 2. But today they had sent a message, see your fiancée for who she really is, along with this video file. I'm going to use the restroom. I picked up my phone and walked quickly toward the back of the restaurant. The restroom mirror reflected a pale, drawn face. 28 years old, a burgeoning career, and about to marry the woman I'd been in love with for years. To everyone else, Ethan Carter was winning at life. Only I knew what it had cost me to get here. Taking a deep breath, I pressed play. The footage was grainy, but the woman in the beige trench coat and sunglasses was unmistakably Olivia. She was arm in arm with a kid who looked 5 or 6 years younger than her, his hair dyed blonde, wearing an oversized hoodie. He was a total pretty boy. They were laughing as they walked through a hotel lobby toward the elevators. The video ended there. The timestamp was 3 p.m. yesterday, the exact time Olivia told me she was at a spa. My fingers swiped uncontrollably as a second message popped up from the same number. Want to know what happened after they got to the room? Blood rushed to my temples, a roaring in my ears. I stared at the screen until it went dark. The man in the mirror had bloodshot eyes, like a wounded animal. Ethan, are you okay? Olivia's voice came from outside the door. Be right out, I called, splashing cold water on my face and shoving the phone back in my pocket. By the time I walked out, my expression was calm. The rest of the dinner was torture. Olivia chattered about the details of the engagement party, the executive position her father was planning to announce, the riverfront penthouse they were moving into after the wedding. Every word was a needle in my heart. You've been distracted all evening, Olivia finally said in the car on the way home. Just tired, I guess, I said, staring at the blur of streetlights racing past the window. I have to get my visa documents together tomorrow. Visa? She asked, turning to me in confusion. What visa? I cursed myself for the slip. There's a new overseas project at work. Might require some short-term travel. It was a lie I'd just invented. In reality, I was already planning to leave the country. She didn't seem to suspect anything. She just leaned against my shoulder and yawned. Don't work yourself too hard. We're about to get married. I nodded stiffly, the scent of her expensive perfume making my stomach churn. Back at her place, while Olivia was in the shower, I called my friend Leo, a cybersecurity expert. Leo, I need a favor, I said, keeping my voice low. I need you to pull the security footage from a hotel. What are you getting into, man? I'm not doing anything illegal, Leo said, immediately on guard. It's not. It's for evidence. I gave him the short version. There was a pause on the other end. Text me the hotel name and the time frame. No guarantees. I Venmo'd him a significant amount of money. A few minutes later, an encrypted file landed in my inbox. The password Leo sent was Captain Cuckold. The joke made me want to reach through the phone and strangle him. The folder contained multiple video files, sorted by date. My hand shook as I clicked on the most recent one. Yesterday's footage from the hotel's lobby and the 18th floor hallway. The video showed Olivia and the blonde kid getting into the elevator and stopping on the 18th floor. My heart hammered against my ribs. I fast-forwarded an hour. The door opened again. They walked out, one after the other. The kid had a satisfied smirk on his face, and Olivia was fixing her hair. Crack! My fist slammed into the desk, a sharp pain shooting through my knuckles. But it was nothing compared to the feeling of my heart being ripped in two. I mechanically clicked through the other video files. Same time frame, same hotel. A month ago, it was Olivia and another guy with an earring. 3 weeks ago, a kid in a basketball jersey. 2 weeks ago, my vision blurred with tears, but the images of Olivia walking in and out of that hotel room with a parade of different young men were painfully clear. 11 different guys. Over 20 separate recordings. I thought back to a rainy night 3 months ago when Olivia had whispered in my arms, I want to save myself for our wedding night. Are you willing to wait for me? I've been so moved by her innocence, I nearly cried. Now, it was the punchline to a cosmic joke. The sound of the shower stopped. I quickly closed all the files and deleted my browser history. When Olivia walked into the study wrapped in a towel, my face was a mask of calm. "Why aren't you in bed yet?" She leaned in, a drop of water from her wet hair landing on my neck. In a minute, I sidestepped her kiss. "You go ahead." I turned to study her face, but she showed no sign of anything being wrong. She gave me a quizzical look, but didn't press, turning toward the bedroom. I stared at her elegant back, at the curves that once captivated me. Now they just made me sick. Once I was sure she was asleep, I quietly got up and picked up her phone. The password was our anniversary. How ironic. I never once thought to look through her phone before. I quickly scanned her WhatsApp contacts and found the chat with the blonde kid. "Hey, you free tomorrow? Same time, same place. Cash again, of course. And a bonus if you're good." Every message was a knife twisting in my gut. She was so confident in my trust, so certain I would never check her phone. I took screenshots and sent them to myself, then kept digging. There were at least 20 similar contacts, labeled with codes like Gym, Coffee Shop B. The conversations were never explicit, just talk about transactions, but I knew what it meant. She was paying for boy toys. My entire life was an elaborate lie. Putting the phone down, I fought the urge to walk into the bedroom and strangle her. I went out to the balcony and lit a cigarette. I could still see the scene from our college graduation, when I'd worked up the courage to confess my feelings to her. She had tears in her eyes as she said, "I've liked you for a long time, too." At that moment, I thought I was the luckiest man in the world. Now I realized those were probably tears of laughter. The night wind blew the smoke away, and my decision was made. For the next few days, I was unusually tender and attentive. Olivia clearly enjoyed the change, completely oblivious to the two things I was doing in secret: fast-tracking my visa to leave the country and gathering more evidence of her cheating. The night before the engagement party, I told her I had to work late on an urgent company matter. In reality, I went to see the event planner. "Ms. Vance's flower arrangements and cake will be delivered on time tomorrow," the manager said with a cheerful smile. "Actually, I need to cancel everything," I said calmly. The manager's smile froze. "Mr. Carter, the party is tomorrow. All the deposits are non-refundable." "That's fine." I handed him a check. "This is for the cancellation fee, plus a little extra for your trouble. I need you to do one thing for me. Tomorrow, prepare everything as planned, but do not inform Vance that the event is canceled." The manager took the check, confused. His eyes went wide when he saw the amount. "Sir, what is this?" "Just act as if this conversation never happened," I said, standing up. "If anyone asks, tell them you never received a cancellation notice." The manager scratched his head, completely baffled by my request. After leaving the event planning office, I went to the bank and transferred the bulk of my savings to an offshore account. I'd made good money over the years. Finally, I sent a text to my parents, telling them a work emergency was taking me out of the country for a while, and not to worry. It was late when I got home. Olivia had fallen asleep on the sofa, the TV still on. I quietly packed a bag, taking only the essentials and my documents. On the desk in the study, I left a letter and an old burner phone containing some of the evidence I'd collected. Not releasing it publicly was the last shred of decency I could offer the woman I'd loved for more than a decade. Before I left, I looked back at Olivia, sleeping peacefully. Moonlight filtered through the sheer curtains, tracing the perfect lines of her face. A face I had dreamed of countless times. Now I just wanted to forget it forever. "Goodbye, Olivia. For good," I whispered and closed the door behind me. In the airport lounge, I sent one last message to the anonymous WhatsApp number. "Thanks for the video, but who are you?" After a long pause, a reply came, just a bystander who couldn't watch it happen. I let out a cold laugh and turned off my phone. Whatever their motive was, it didn't matter anymore. The boarding call echoed through the terminal. I grabbed my carry-on and walked toward the gate without looking back. During the 12-hour flight, I tried to sleep, but my dreams were filled with images of Olivia and those boys in the hotel room. Each time I jolted awake, the pain in my chest was sharper. When the plane landed in Melbourne, I turned my phone on. It was immediately bombarded with missed calls and messages from Olivia and her family. I didn't answer a single one. I just sent a pre-written email to Olivia with all the evidence I collected attached. The body of the email contained only one sentence: "I wish you happiness." After sending it, I shut the phone off and walked out into the blinding Australian sun. Melbourne's winter was colder than I'd expected. I pulled my coat tighter, watching my breath turn to mist in the air. It had been 3 months. I'd built a new life for myself in this city on the other side of the world. Rented a small apartment, found a job at a local IT firm, and even started learning to surf. On the surface, I had completely adjusted. But in the quiet of the night, the images would flood my mind against my will. Olivia and those boys at the hotel, the curve of her lips when she spoke to me, the way she looked curled up on the sofa the night before the party. My phone vibrated. A message from my mother. Only she had this number. It was the 7th one this week, and the content was always the same. Ethan, what on earth happened? The Vances are going crazy. They said you just vanished. Olivia comes to see me every day. I silenced the phone and put it back in my pocket. For 3 months, I cut off all contact with everyone back home, only texting my parents occasionally to let them know I was safe. I knew the Vance family was powerful. Finding me wouldn't be difficult. So I kept moving, changing my address and phone number like a startled rabbit. As I walked into my office building, the receptionist smiled and handed me a letter. Mr. Carter, this was delivered for you this morning. They said it was urgent. I frowned and took the envelope. There was no return address, just my name and the company's address. I tore it open. Inside was a plane ticket to Sydney and a note. I know what you're running from. We need to talk. Oh, my fingers began to shake. Oh, the initial Olivia always used. She'd found me. What did the person who delivered this look like? I asked the receptionist. An Asian woman, wearing sunglasses and a mask. I couldn't really see her face, she recalled. She said she was a friend of yours. I thanked her and hurried to the elevator, my heart pounding. Inside my office, I locked the door and examined the envelope and the note again. The flight was for tomorrow. The address of a Sydney hotel was written on the back. This could be a trap. The Vances had business interests in Australia. It wasn't surprising they tracked me down. But why Sydney and not just come to Melbourne? Unless this wasn't Olivia herself. I was distracted all day, typing errors into my code. After work, I skipped my usual trip to the gym and went straight back to my apartment. I checked every corner, and only after confirming no one had broken in did I relax slightly. Pulling a suitcase from under the bed, I found my old burner phone and plugged it in. The moment it turned on for the first time in 3 months, it was flooded with so many notifications for unread messages and missed calls that it nearly crashed. I swiped straight to my email and found the last one Olivia had sent me. Ethan, you've misunderstood. Those boys were just actors I hired. Nothing happened. Please contact me. We need to talk. I scoffed. What a pathetic lie. Who would believe an excuse like that? Just as I was about to turn it off, a new email popped up. It was from Olivia's mother. Ethan, I don't know what happened between you two, but Olivia has been a different person these last 3 months. She's canceled all her social events and just locks herself in her room, looking at old photos of you two. As her mother, I've never seen her like this. If you get this message, please at least give her a chance to explain. I stared at the screen, a heavy weight in my chest. Olivia was a graduate of a top drama program. She'd even managed to fool her own mother. Before powering it down, on some strange impulse, I opened the photo gallery and scrolled to the very bottom. It was a picture of us right after college graduation. She was wearing her cap and gown, leaning against my shoulder, her smile as bright as the sun. That night, I dreamed I was back on our college campus. Olivia was standing under a cherry blossom tree, waving at me. But when I ran toward her, she transformed into the blonde kid from the hotel, who gave me a mocking grin. The next morning, I stood at the airline check-in counter, hesitating. Logic told me to rip up the ticket and keep hiding. But some other, indefinable emotion compelled me to check in for the flight. Think of it as a weekend trip to Sydney, I told myself. During the 2-hour flight, I imagined every possible scenario. Olivia waiting at the airport with bodyguards, her father sending men to teach me a lesson for being a coward who ran out on his daughter. Or worst of all, Olivia herself, showing up with tears in her eyes, ready to spin another web of lies. But the Sydney airport was completely normal. Following the address on the note, I took a cab to a 5-star hotel at Circular Quay. Standing in the lobby, I was struck by a sense of the absurd. What was I even doing here? Flying across Australia for a woman who had systematically betrayed me? Mr. Carter, a middle-aged man in a suit approached me. Please come with me. I took a half step back, wary. Who are you? Ms. Vance is waiting for you in the penthouse suite. The man handed me a key card. She said you were free to leave at any time. She just wants to talk. As the elevator ascended, my hand was in my pocket, gripping a small can of pepper spray. The doors opened onto a plushly carpeted hallway with a single door at the end. Taking a deep breath, I swiped the card. The suite was spacious and bright, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a magnificent view of the Sydney Opera House and Harbour Bridge. Olivia was standing with her back to me, looking out the window. She turned quickly at the sound of the door. I hadn't seen her in 3 months. She had lost a lot of weight. Her once full cheeks were hollowed out, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing a simple white t-shirt and jeans, no makeup, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. This was a completely different person from the polished, perfect Olivia I remembered. "You finally came," she said, her voice soft and trembling slightly. I didn't move closer, standing by the door. "Let's hear it. What do you want?" Olivia bit her lower lip and picked up a manila envelope from a table. "Look at this first." I cautiously took the envelope. Inside was a stack of photos and printouts of chat logs. The photos were of the boys from the hotel surveillance footage, each one holding their ID and a handwritten statement. The chat logs were conversations between them and someone listed as director, detailing how to perform the act of entering and exiting the hotel with Olivia. "What is this?" I frowned. "The truth." Olivia's voice choked with a sob. "Those boys were actors I hired. Nothing ever happened. Every time we went into the room, they just played on their phones until the time was up, and then they left." I let out a derisive snort. "Nice story. Fine. Then why would you do it?" "Because..." Her eyes suddenly reddened. "Because I thought you only pursued me to win a bet with your roommate." I was scared. "Do you know how my sister died?" "Your sister is dead? I thought you said she moved abroad." "She was tricked by a scumbag. She ended up slitting her wrists. We got justice for her, but to manage the fallout, the family said she'd moved overseas." The words hit me like a physical blow. "A bet? What bet?" Seeing my confusion, Olivia gave a bitter smile. "I guess you really don't remember. Junior year, your dorm was having a party. I was in the suite next door. I was walking past your door when I heard you say that if you could get with me, your roommate will buy you breakfast for a month." Fragments of a memory surfaced. A typical dorm party. My drunk roommates were teasing me, asking if I had a crush on Olivia. I was too insecure to admit it, so they joked about daring me to ask out the campus queen. I never imagined she'd heard it. The truth was, I just used it as an excuse to finally work up the nerve to talk to her. "So you did this for revenge?" My voice was hoarse. Olivia nodded, a tear finally tracing a path down her cheek. "Partly, but mostly it was a test. You have no idea how heartbroken I was when I heard that. I thought you genuinely liked me. So I decided to test your feelings before we got married. I was the one who sent you that video," she said, holding up a burner phone. "If you found out and still stood by me, I would have known you were just using me for my family's connections. But you just disappeared without a word." I staggered back against the wall, staring at the message history on her burner phone. It was all a game of revenge, born from a stupid misunderstanding. "Then why tell me the truth now?" Olivia walked toward the bedroom and returned with a familiar notebook, my old high school journal, where I'd chronicle my 3-year crush on her. "After you left, I found this when I was packing up your things." She gently stroked the yellowed pages. "It was filled with all the feelings you were too scared to say out loud. That, plus the way you just vanished, made me realize what a terrible mistake I had made." I took the journal and flipped a page. Olivia wore a red dress today. She was reading by the track. I ran 20 laps, just so I could get a few more glimpses of her. She'll never know there's a guy who likes her this much. The memories flooded back. In high school, Olivia was the popular girl from a wealthy family, with guys lining up to ask her out. I was just a scholarship kid who didn't even have the courage to speak to her. She was a better student than I was, and I never thought we'd end up at the same university, let alone that she would ever accept my confession. Suddenly, she was seized by a violent coughing fit, her face turning pale. "What's wrong?" I instinctively took a step forward. She waved a hand, then pulled a folded paper from her pocket and gave it to me. It was a medical report. Printed in stark black letters were the words, "Late-stage lung cancer with metastasis." My mind went blank. The diagnosis was dated 1 month ago. The doctor said, "I have 6 months at most." Olivia managed a weak smile. "I'm not asking you to forgive me, but at least, don't let me leave with this misunderstanding between us." The sunlight outside the window suddenly felt harsh and blinding. I stood there, holding the flimsy piece of paper, feeling the world spin around me. The person I had hated for 3 months was standing in front of me, telling me it was all a mistake and that she was about to die. "I need time," was all I could manage to say. Olivia nodded, tears streaming silently down her face. "I understand. My flight back home is booked for tomorrow. If you want to contact me." She handed me a business card. "This is my private doctor's number." As I left the hotel, a light rain began to fall over Sydney. I walked aimlessly through the streets, letting the rain soak my clothes. 2 voices were screaming in my head. One said she was lying, that the report could be fake. The other reminded me that my high school journal couldn't be faked, that my feelings for her had been real. Back in Melbourne, I took a week off work and locked myself in my apartment. I rewatched all the surveillance footage. I contacted a few of the boys from the videos. Their stories were all consistent. They were just paid by Olivia to act. The most damning piece of evidence was a bank transfer record from one of them, with a memo line performance fee. On the morning of the 7th day, I called Olivia's mother. Ethan, her voice trembled. Olivia's condition has gotten worse. She's been hospitalized. She keeps saying your name. I'm flying back tonight. On the plane, I read through my old high school journal. Every line was filled with the purest form of a teenage boy's adoration. 16-year-old Ethan could never have imagined that, 12 years later, this love story would end in such a tragedy. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic. Olivia's mother was standing outside the room, her eyes red and swollen. The doctor said, "It could be any day now," she said through her sobs. "The surgery has less than a 10% chance of success, but she's insisting on doing it." Through the glass window of the door, I could see Olivia lying weakly in the bed. She was holding something. Looking closer, I saw it was an old photo of us from college. The monitors beeped rhythmically as I pushed the door open. Olivia's eyes fluttered open, her pupils dilating slightly when she saw me. You came." Her voice was barely a whisper. I nodded and sat down by her bed. She pulled an old phone from under her pillow. On it was an audio recording, the conversation between me and my roommates about the bet. Listening to it now, it was so clearly just drunken joking, but she had taken it as the gospel truth. "I'm sorry." She suddenly grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "I should have trusted you." I didn't know what to say. I could only squeeze her hand back. 12 years of secret love, 6 years of a relationship, 3 months of hatred. It all dissolved into the heavy sound of breathing in that hospital room. "Ethan," her voice grew fainter. "If there's a next life, let's not misunderstand each other again." Suddenly, the heart monitor shrieked, a piercing, flatline tone. Doctors and nurses rushed into the room. I was pushed aside, watching as they started emergency procedures. Olivia's mother was crying hysterically. I just stood there, the lingering warmth of Olivia's hand still on mine. 20 minutes later, the doctor pronounced the time of death. Walking out of the hospital, the sunlight was so bright it hurt my eyes. Olivia's mother pressed an envelope into my pocket. "She wrote this for you. She said to only open it when you've truly forgiven her." I didn't open it right away. I went to the coffee shop where we had our first date. Sitting in our usual corner, I finally let the tears I'd held back for 3 months fall. Tears for the misunderstanding, for the lost time, for the girl who was never coming back. The letter was written in Olivia's elegant script. "My dearest Ethan, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Please don't be sad for me. I brought all of this on myself. I noticed you back in high school. The boy who was always on the basketball court by himself, with eyes as clear as an autumn sky. I deliberately applied to the same university as you, but I was too scared to approach you. Then I overheard that bet, and my whole world fell apart. When you finally confessed to me, I said yes without hesitation, but I still felt like I was just a prize you were trying to win. I was too afraid to ask you about it, so I buried the doubt deep inside. Finally, I decided to test you before our engagement, which led to that ridiculous charade. It wasn't until I found your journal that I understood what we had missed. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't believe in you. If I could go back in time, I would have stopped you by the track in high school and told you I like you too. But life doesn't give do-overs. One last thing I ask of you. Live a good life. Live for me too. And forget me. Forever yours, Olivia. The paper grew transparent as my tears soaked through it. I looked out the window and could almost see the 18-year-old Olivia in her red dress walking by, turning to give me a brilliant smile. That was how I would always remember her, at her most beautiful. Olivia's funeral was held on a gray, drizzly morning. I stood at the back of the crowd, watching her photograph surrounded by flowers. The picture was from her college graduation. She was smiling, radiant, as if death had never come near her. "Ethan," after the service, Olivia's mother called out to me. "Can we talk for a moment?" We went to a small tea house near the cemetery. She took a manila envelope from her purse and pushed it across the table. "Olivia left this for you." "I've already received her letter," I said quietly. "It's not just a letter. She said that if you came to her funeral, I was to give this to you." I took it. Inside was a flash drive. When I got home and saw what was on it, I completely lost control. The drive contained the full unedited videos from inside the hotel room for all 20-plus encounters. Just as she had said, for the entire hour each time, she and the boys just sat in the same room, scrolling on their separate phones. Nothing else happened. Testimonies could be faked, but these videos couldn't be. I didn't understand why she hadn't just shown me this in Sydney. Why wait until after she was dead, and only if I came to her funeral? She must have believed that only if I had truly forgiven her would I have come. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't forget, so I started visiting all the places that held our memories. The cherry blossom path on our college campus, the aquarium from our first date, even the high-end mall she loved to shop at. Each place was a dull knife, slowly carving up my already shattered heart. Today was the 32nd day. I was back where it all began, Northwood High School. The security guard was the same. He recognized me immediately and waved me in. Ethan Carter? Long time no see. Heard you were doing well for yourself overseas. I managed a weak smile and didn't answer. The campus was almost unchanged. The red and white brick buildings, the sycamore trees lining the track, the hallways where we used to pass each other in silence. It was 4:00 p.m. Students were still in class, and the ground were quiet. I walked aimlessly, and without realizing it, I ended up at the basketball court. This used to be my turf. For 3 years of high school, I was here almost every day after school until it got dark. Thump, thump, thump. The rhythmic sound of a basketball dribbling echoed from the court. I looked over, frowning. A girl in a school uniform was practicing her shots. Her back was to me, a ponytail swinging with her movements, her long legs casting an even longer shadow in the setting sun. A strange sense of familiarity washed over me. I took a few steps closer. Just then, the girl turned to set up her next shot. The ball slipped from her grasp and rolled to my feet. Time seemed to stop. That face, a delicate, heart-shaped face, almond eyes that tilted up slightly at the corners, and a faint beauty mark just under her right eye. It was Olivia. No, impossible. I had watched her get covered by a white sheet, wheeled to the morgue. I went to her funeral. I watched her casket being lowered into the ground. This girl just looked like her. That had to be it. Can you pass the ball back? The girl asked, her voice as clear as a bell. I was frozen, my throat constricting. It was too much of a resemblance. Even her voice was the same. The girl tilted her head to the side, and that simple gesture shattered my sanity. It was the exact way Olivia always tilted her head when she was thinking. You're not dead, I heard myself say, my voice a ragged rasp. The girl's expression changed instantly. She bit her lip, her eyes turning red. Can I still watch you play basketball? The world spun. That sentence, 12 years ago, sophomore year on a rainy afternoon, Olivia had said those exact same words to me by this very basketball court. Who are you? I lunged forward and grabbed her wrist. The touch was real, warm. Ow, that hurts. The girl struggled, but couldn't break free. Ethan, calm down. She knew my name. I let go, stumbling back a few steps as my mind raced. A twin? Impossible. A hallucination? But I had touched her. Give me 5 minutes to explain, the girl said, rubbing her wrist. But we should probably go somewhere else. School's about to let out. She led a dazed me to an empty classroom. Coincidentally, it was my old sophomore classroom, though for some reason it was now vacant. The setting sun poured through the windows, bathing everything in a golden light. The girl closed the door and turned to face me, wringing her hands. First of all, I'm sorry. I lied to you again. I just had a benign tumor. The death certificate, the funeral. My mom helped me fake it all. I stared at her, searching the face that was so familiar it ached, trying to find a flaw in the story. Why? I thought I needed to let you go. And maybe it was revenge for you leaving without a word, Olivia said, looking me straight in the eye. The words were a slap in the face. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. But then I realized, her voice softened. I realized I couldn't let you go, and I didn't want revenge anymore. So all this time, I was out of the country, Olivia said, leaning against the teacher's desk. My mom arranged the whole death. I wanted to disappear completely because I felt like I didn't deserve to be with you anymore. Even though what I did was fake, the pain I caused you was real. The final bell rang outside, and the noisy chatter of surgery. You obviously didn't look too closely, Olivia said with a bitter smile. My original plan was to make you suffer for a little while and then tell you the truth. But when I saw your reaction, I wasn't sure anymore. You looked like you hated me so much, but you were also so hurt. I thought of her pale face in the hospital room, the feeling of her hand growing cold in mine. You're a damn good actress. Top of my class for a reason, she said with a self-deprecating smile. Then her expression turned serious. But my tears were real. Ethan, when I found that journal and realized I had misunderstood you for all those years, I hated myself. The sunlight cast dappled shadows on her face. For a moment, I saw the high school version of her. The girl I had watched from afar for years was now standing right in front of me. So what now? I asked. Are you satisfied with your little revenge game? Olivia shook her head and suddenly stepped forward, wrapping her arms around me. She smelled of gardenias, exactly like I remembered. I lost, she mumbled into my chest. I thought getting revenge would make me feel better, but these past few months have been the most miserable of my life. Ethan, I never wanted to hurt you. Her body was trembling slightly. I stiffly raised my hands and finally let them rest on her back. The classroom door was suddenly pushed open. A few students peeked in, saw us, and quickly retreated. We both fell silent. Let's go for a walk, Olivia said softly. The campus was bathed in the golden glow of dusk. We walked side by side on the track, like two ordinary students after school. You know, I noticed you a long time ago, Olivia said suddenly. There was this boy who would practice on the basketball court every single day after school, even when he was exhausted. I looked at her, surprised. I thought you never even knew I existed. I knew, she said, kicking a small pebble. One time it was raining, and I came back to the classroom to get a book I forgot. I saw you out there, playing in the rain by yourself. I asked you why you didn't stop, and you said, it's the only time I feel brave enough to look at the girl I like. The memory came rushing back. She had been there that day. Then why? Because I didn't know you were talking about me, Olivia said with a sad smile. Not until college. I couldn't wait any longer, so I decided I was going to confess to you. And then you heard that stupid dare. Yeah, and then you finally confessed to me, and I was half overjoyed, half in pain. But I said yes. We had reached the basketball court, which was now empty. I picked up the ball from the ground and took a casual three-point shot. It missed. We really are a pair of idiots, Olivia said, retrieving the ball. Wasting all this time because of one misunderstanding. Olivia, I said, taking a deep breath. I need to know. The person standing in front of me right now. Is this real? She paused, then slowly walked over and took my hand, placing it over her heart. I could feel the strong, steady beat through her uniform. Feel that. This is real. No performance, no lies. Her eyes shone in the twilight. Ethan Carter, I, Olivia Vance, am standing here to tell you one thing. Since she was 16 years old, she has been in love with the boy on the basketball court. And that has never changed. I stared at her, and I saw it all. The girl hiding behind a tree watching me play. The freshman who smiled at me during orientation. The young woman who cried in the rain and said, I've liked you for a long time, too. All the misunderstandings, the pain, the revenge. It all seemed insignificant in that moment. The last of the sunlight washed over the court. I picked up the basketball and held out my other hand to her. Are you still willing to watch me play, Ms. Vance? She tilted her head, smiling just like she did on our first date. I could watch you for a lifetime, and it wouldn't be enough. I dribbled to the hoop and laid the ball in. It dropped cleanly through the net. When I turned around, Olivia was standing at the three-point line, the sunset creating a golden halo around her. She looked impossibly, surreally beautiful. At that moment, it was as if our 18-year-old selves were standing at opposite ends of time, finally crossing all the years of pain and doubt to meet in the middle. You know, I said softly, I quit my job. Olivia blinked. What? I resigned after I got back from Australia. I bought a little bookstore in the old part of town that was about to go under. I'm planning on renovating it. I paused. There's a small apartment upstairs. Gets good light. Olivia's eyes lit up. Sounds like someone's planning on settling down. Only if a certain very difficult woman is willing to be my co-owner. She laughed, the sound bright and clear. The setting sun stretched our shadows long across the pavement until they merged into one.